The HOA president was standing on my porch, yelling that she was going to take my house by Friday, and half the neighborhood was out on their lawns, watching like it was free cable. And then my wife stepped forward, pulled out a federal badge and said, "Ma'am, you are running a criminal fraud operation." And you could literally see the color drain from this woman's face like somebody unplugged her, so yeah, it got that serious. Let me back up for a second, because this didn't start with cops and federal badges. It started with coffee and sunlight, and me thinking I had my life together. My name's Logan, my wife is Erin, and 6 months before all that, we bought what we thought was our first normal, peaceful, quiet house. Little blue door, little patch of grass out front. Little porch where I could sit in the morning and pretend to be the kind of guy who understands shrubs. The neighborhood is called Willow Creek, just outside of Fort Collins, Colorado. And here's the part that's important. We specifically chose it because there was no HOA. No one measuring our grass with a ruler, no letters about trash cans, no approved color palette nonsense. That was honestly in the realtor's pitch. No HOA here, it's very chill. So on this one Saturday morning, I'm sitting out there with my coffee. Erin's next to me with her tablet. Because she never really stops working. And the day feels good, like fresh-cut grass. Early sun. Quiet. Street birds. And then this white Mercedes pulls up, and a woman gets out. Like she's walking into a board meeting. She already won. Blonde bob, expensive blazer clipboard, hugged to her chest like a badge expression, like she's smelling something cheap. She doesn't knock at the sidewalk like a normal neighbor. She just marches straight across my lawn in heels and says real loud, so the whole world can hear. "Good morning. I'm Linda Travers, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association." Like she's announcing a police raid. I kind of laugh because I think it's a mix-up. I go, "There's no HOA here. That was the whole point of us buying here." And she smiles at me like I'm a toddler who touched an outlet and says, "Ignorance of the regulations is not an excuse for non-compliance." Then she starts reading off violations, and I'm not kidding. She was reading like a traffic cop. Your lawn exceeds maximum allowed height of 3 inches. Your front door is painted ocean. Mist blue, which is not an approved color. Your bins were visible past 6 a.m., and you failed to submit your quarterly dues of $450, which are now late. I'm standing there in gym shorts like, what are you even talking about? She hands me this thick packet like 40-something pages of bylaws with a logo that honestly looked like she made it in word art. And she tells me I have 48 hours to correct all violations, or fines of $100 per day will begin. And then she just leaves, like she drops a bomb, and walks off across my grass back to her Mercedes. Erin is next to me the whole time, quiet watching. She doesn't argue. She doesn't panic. She just takes the stack of papers, flips through it fast, and starts taking pictures of every single page front and back, plus Linda's license plate. I go, "Babe, what is happening?" And she just says, super calm, "Don't sign anything. Don't pay her anything. Let me handle this." And I didn't know it yet. But that one line right there was the moment we stopped being victims and started being a case file. I thought it was over, like maybe we'd get an email and it'd sort itself out, but nah. Next morning, 6 a.m., I open the door and there's a bright red notice glued to my front door. Not taped glued with something that ripped paint when I peeled it off. Big black text across the top. Violation notice. And then this list of the pettiest stuff you've ever heard. Our car was parked 2 inches past the curb alignment. Our house numbers were the wrong finish. And then in big bold, it said we owed $550 and were at risk of legal escalation. She also planted orange cones across our driveway with laminated signs that said, "Under HOA investigation. Do not remove." So now all the neighbors driving by see that. And let me tell you something. Humiliation hits different when it's in front of the people who wave at you while walking their dog. She also sent out this email to a community list I'd never even heard of, talking about certain newer residents who were testing the standards of Willow Creek and putting property values at risk, like we were some kind of disease. And by lunchtime, my phone was buzzing with texts from phone numbers. I've never saved. Hey man, no offense, but it's easier if you just pay her. She's intense. Don't make her mad. She really can put a lien on your house. And I remember just standing in the kitchen holding my phone thinking, wait, can she actually take my house? And that was probably the first moment I felt real fear. Not annoyance, not anger, but fear, like stomach drop. Can't breathe. You know what I mean. And this is where I tell you about Erin. I always joke that Erin's hobby is being calm, but I didn't actually understand what calm meant until I watched her work during those days. While I'm spiraling, she's at the kitchen table with her secure laptop, pulling county records, business registrations, property filings, all that stuff I'd never even think to look at. She goes, "There are no recorded covenants for Willow Creek. There's no registered HOA with the county. There's no legal entity called Willow Creek. Homeowners Association. It does not exist." And she says it like she's reading the weather, like it's just data. And I go, okay then, why am I getting bills and threats of foreclosure? And she looks up at me and quietly says, because she's not running an HOA, she's running a scam. Monday morning, Linda calls me again, way harsher this time. "Mr. Blake, as of 9 a.m., you owe $750, including penalties, and administrative time refusal to cooperate will be noted further. Escalation will involve legal action, like she's a collections agency, and I try to keep my voice level like Erin told me. I say we haven't seen any proof this HOA is real, and Linda snaps back, "Your failure to educate yourself is not my problem," then hangs up on me. Wednesday, we get summoned to an HOA disciplinary hearing at Linda's house, not invited, summoned like a court date. I want to ignore it. Erin says, "No, we're going," and we show up, and this woman's dining room is set up like a courtroom from a low-budget TV show. Banner on the wall that says Willow Creek HOA Board. 2 other women sitting like backup muscle, a stack of violation reports in front of her, and Linda sitting at the head of the table like a judge. She opens with, "Logan and Erin Blake, you have repeatedly refused to comply with community standards. This meeting is being documented." And I open my mouth to argue, and Erin just squeezes my knee under the table like, "Let me." Then she does something I've never seen her do before, and I've been married to her 5 years. She just dismantles this woman, but politely. Erin says, "Before we discuss alleged violations, could you provide the recorded covenants that give this HOA authority over our property?" And Linda goes, "The vote that established this HOA was conducted properly." And Erin says, "Great. Where are those minutes filed, county clerk or secretary of state?" And Linda goes, "Those are internal documents." And Erin nods all polite and says, "So to be clear, you have no recorded covenants, no articles of incorporation, and no legal authority to issue fines, threaten liens, or demand payment." And I swear to you, the whole room went quiet, except for somebody's refrigerator humming. Linda's face goes red. Then she slams a paper down and says, "You now owe $2,500 for non-compliance and obstruction due in 7 days, or we proceed with a lien and foreclosure." And I'm sitting there thinking I just heard the word foreclosure in a stranger's dining room like it's casual. We get up, we leave, And halfway home, I finally ask my wife, "Babe, what do you actually do?" And she exhales like she's been waiting to tell me. And she goes, "I'm not just in finance. I'm a senior investigator with the Federal Trade Commission. This is literally what I do." So now my brain is just trying to reboot, like my wife is a federal investigator, and the lady from 2 streets over is somehow committing felonies in a blazer. Erin goes, "She's committing mail fraud and wire fraud. I can't open a formal case until she crosses the line, so we're going to let her cross it." The next morning, under Erin's direction, I send Linda an email that says, "We're tired of the stress. We're prepared to pay the full amount. Please send payment instructions and a receipt for our records." I felt sick sending it like I was surrendering, and Erin just goes, "Trust me." 20 minutes later, Linda sends full routing and account numbers for the Willow Creek HOA operating account, and Erin traces it and goes, "That's her personal checking account." And then she smiles, and I swear I've never felt so relieved and so scared at the same time, because now it's not neighborhood drama anymore. Now it's federal. 2 days later is when everything breaks. Linda shows up again, but this time she's in a navy suit like she's going to court, and she brings this older guy with her, who she's obviously pretending is her attorney, and they're pounding on my door at 7:45 in the morning so hard that neighbors start coming outside. She's yelling, "Logan, Erin, open this door right now. You have ignored final notice. You now owe $4,000, including legal fees, if you don't pay. Today, we'll move to seize the property." Loud on purpose, so everyone hears. And Erin whispers in my ear, "Let her keep talking." I open the door, and Linda points at me like she's about to arrest me and goes, "You think you can just ignore the law?" And before I can answer, Erin steps in front of me, calm hands at her sides, and says, "There is no law here, Linda. There is no HOA. Stop coming to my house." And Linda smirks and literally dials 911 right there in my driveway. I'm not exaggerating. She goes on speaker. "Yes, hello. I'm president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. I'm dealing with residents refusing to pay legally required fees and creating a hostile environment, like she's calling in backup. 2 squad cars roll up, and I'm telling you my heart was in my throat because I honestly thought the officers were going to assume we were the problem, and a couple of our neighbors were standing there with their arms folded like, let's see if the new couple gets dragged. And the first officer says, "We got a report of a disturbance," and Linda jumps in like she's been waiting to be on stage. These people have refused to comply with community standards. They owe over $4,000. They've been harassing me in my capacity as HOA president. And she actually tries to hand over a binder like it's evidence. The officer flips through it, then looks up and goes, "Ma'am, HOA matters are usually civil. This isn't really a police thing unless a crime's been committed." And Linda snaps, "It is a crime. It's theft. They're refusing to pay fees." And then Erin does the coldest thing I've ever seen in my life. She pulls out the thin chain she always wears under her shirt, and there's this gold badge on it. And she shows it to the officer and says, calm but firm, like a switch flipped. "Officer, I'm Senior Investigator Erin Blake with the Federal Trade Commission. Badge number 29781. I've been documenting an ongoing fraud operation being conducted by this woman under the name Willow Creek Homeowners Association." And everything just stops. The cops go dead serious. The neighbors go dead quiet. Linda literally goes pale. Erin keeps going. "We have written threats of foreclosure with no legal authority. We have fake legal notices. We have her routing number and bank account, where she's been collecting money from multiple households. We have evidence she's been using US and electronic transfer to execute the scheme that's mail fraud and wire fraud. And the officer just nods and goes, "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stay right here," and calls it in. 15 minutes later, 2 unmarked black SUVs pull up, and federal agents step out, and if you've never seen a neighborhood Karen watch federal agents photograph her car, it's something you don't forget. They take her phone. They ask her to repeat how she's authorized to collect fines, and she starts to stutter for the first time since I've met her. "I was just trying to keep the neighborhood nice. I was just maintaining standards." And Aaron just looks at her and goes, "No, you were extorting people in their own homes." And that was it. The same woman who glued violation notices to my door at 6 a.m., who told the entire neighborhood we were trash, who swore she'd take our house by Friday, was now shaking in my driveway while agents cataloged her fake HOA like it was a crime scene. And here's the part that still gets me. The part that makes me kind of angry and kind of sad. At the same time, neighbors started coming up to us after we paid her. She said she'd put a lien on our place if we didn't. We thought we'd lose the house. People in their 70s, young couples with kids, folks on fixed income, and you could see it in their eyes, that mix of shame and relief, like someone had been sitting on their chest, and finally stood up. Yeah, that happened. So let me ask you this, and be honest with me in the comments, because I really want to know how people feel about this. Do you think someone like Linda deserves prison time for what she did, for threatening to take people's homes and shaking them down for money? Or do you think people like her start off telling themselves they're protecting the neighborhood, and it just gets out of control and turns into power and ego, like it becomes about control, not about rules? You tell me, because we lived it. And I'll tell you right now, the scariest part wasn't her. It was how fast a person with a clipboard can convince an entire street that she's the law until someone finally says, "Prove it."